Imagine this. You find yourself in a dimly lit room, sitting across from someone you love. Maybe it's a partner, a parent, a friend. Your voice trembles as you tell them again that you're sorry. You didn't mean to say what you said, to do what you did. You swore it would be different this time. And yet here you are, again, the same conversation, the same pain, the same broken promise. You walk away, not just from them, but from yourself, confused, ashamed, and asking the same question you've asked 100 times before. Why do I keep doing this? Despite all your self-awareness, your journals full of revelations, your late-night vows under the stars, you still end up back here, at the edge of a pattern that seems to repeat itself with eerie precision. You know better, you feel better, and yet something unseen drags you back into the loop. Why? Carl Jung once wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." But what if it's not fate? What if the sabotage, the pain, the repeated heartbreak, what if that's the part of you trying to speak? What if the mistake isn't the thing you keep doing, but the thing you keep avoiding, refusing to see the deeper script your psyche is playing out beneath the surface? Because here's the great contradiction. The very thing you want most, love, freedom, connection, peace, may also be the thing you unconsciously fear, and so you push it away, subtly, quietly, sometimes violently. You destroy what you crave, not because you're flawed or broken, but because the self you think you are isn't the one making the decisions. There is another you, the one beneath the surface, the one shaped not by logic or intention, but by memory, trauma, and shadows you've never dared to face. This hidden self doesn't speak in language. It speaks in patterns, and the patterns don't lie. So you fall in love and you run. You land your dream job, band. You self-sabotage. You get close to happiness. Suddenly, everything falls apart. Coincidence? Or unconscious orchestration? Why does a child who felt unseen choose partners who never truly look at them? Why does the adult who craved safety end up addicted to chaos? Why does the person desperate for peace continually walk back into war? Could it be that our mistakes aren't random failures of willpower, but precise repetitions of a hidden emotional blueprint? Jung believed that the psyche is not a blank canvas, it's a living organism shaped by myth, memory, and what he called the shadow, the repressed aspects of our being we exile from our conscious mind. But exile does not mean erasure. The shadow does not vanish. It waits, and while you go about your life trying to grow, to love, to move on, it lies beneath the surface like an old script being run by a ghost, writer quietly, relentlessly recreating the same scenes over and over, hoping one day you'll notice, hoping one day you'll wake up. What if every mistake you've ever made was actually a message, not a punishment, not proof that you're incapable, but a cipher, a code written in the language of pain, calling you back to something you've buried deep within yourself? This changes everything. You're not failing, you're remembering. You're not broken. You're haunted by unprocessed wounds and unspoken truths that manifest as repetition. The problem isn't that you haven't tried hard enough. The problem is that you're trying to fix what needs to be understood, because you cannot heal what you haven't met. You cannot change a pattern you're still pretending isn't there. So the question isn't, why do I keep repeating the same mistakes? The real question is, what am I being asked to see through these repetitions? That's where we begin, not with answers, but with attention, not with solutions, but with surrender. Because until you're willing to confront the unconscious parts of yourself, the exiled memories, the suppressed grief, the unmet needs, you'll continue to dance in circles, mistaking the echo of your trauma for the sound of fate. But if you're brave enough to look deeper, you might just find that every mistake was never a failure, but a breadcrumb, a path, back to the parts of you that still long to be seen. Repetition isn't an accident. It's a mechanism of precise, unconscious effort to resolve something unfinished in psychoanalysis. Freud called this the repetition compulsion, the uncanny tendency of the psyche to recreate early traumas. Again and again, not for pleasure, but for mastery, for closure, for redemption. The wounded child returns to the scene of the wound, hoping this time it will end differently. Hoping this time someone will stay, someone will understand, someone will see. But most of the time, we don't realize we're doing this. Why? Because the original wound isn't stored in words. It's stored in emotion, in body memory. It lives, not in your conscious mind, but in the places you flinch from, in the people you're drawn to, in the reactions that feel too big, too fast, too familiar to what happens. You unconsciously seek out people and situations that mirror the pain you once knew, because part of you is still trying to solve it, still trying to rewrite the ending. But without awareness, you don't rewrite it to relive it. And this is where Jung enters the room, not as a therapist, but as a mythologist of the soul. Jung didn't just want to explain your wounds. He wanted you to befriend them, because to him, the key to transformation wasn't in suppression or even in success. It was in integration. The shadow, the part of you that sabotages you. Jung's concept of the shadow is central to understanding why we repeat the same mistakes. He defined the shadow as the aspects of ourselves that we deny, reject, or repress because they don't fit our idea of who we're supposed to be. These aspects don't vanish. They go underground. You may push away your anger, your envy, your selfishness. You may banish your neediness, your fear, your shame. But what you repress doesn't die, it waits, and it returns not as a whisper, but as chaos. The shadow will show up as the words you didn't mean to say, as the breakup you didn't see coming but caused, as the meltdown that wasn't like you but somehow was. You won't know why. You'll just feel like something took over, because something did, your shadow, and it doesn't care about your goals. It doesn't care about your image. It only cares about wholeness. Jung believed the psyche doesn't want to be good. It wants to be complete. And so the more you disown parts of yourself, the more likely those parts are to control you from behind the scenes. This is why people repeat patterns that destroy them, because destruction is the only way the shadow knows to be heard. The false self, the persona versus the inner world. Jung also warned about the dangers of the persona, the mask we wear to survive social life. It's the version of you that smiles when you want to scream, that agrees when you want to walk away, that works harder instead of admitting you're breaking down. The persona isn't evil, it's necessary. It helps us navigate the world. But the danger comes when we mistake the mask for the face. Because if you become too identified with your persona, you lose touch with the deeper truths of your inner world. You start making choices not based on who you are, but who you think you should be. You pursue careers, relationships, even spiritual paths that look right but feel hollow. And the longer you ignore the voice beneath, the louder it begins to scream in the form of anxiety, addiction, depression, and yes, repetition. You sabotage what you consciously want, Because your unconscious knows you've left something behind, and it will not let you move forward until you return for it. The mythological mirror, fate, tragedy, and the inner journey. In Greek tragedies, the hero always meets their downfall through a fatal flaw that they cannot see. It's not because they're bad, it's because they're blind. They think the enemy is out there, but the real danger lies within. And it's only in the final act, when everything is ruined, that the truth is revealed. That the flaw was never in the world, but in the self they refused to confront. This is not just mythology. This is psychology. Your life patterns are your personal myths playing out on repeat. And the mistakes you keep making are not random, they're symbolic. They are your unconscious trying to complete the story, trying to bring what's hidden into the light, the core truth. What you don't heal, you repeat. This brings us to the core psychological reality. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are, not what you consciously believe yourself to be, but what your unconscious holds to be true. If deep down you believe love is dangerous, you'll find yourself pulling away from it. If you carry the belief that you are unworthy, you'll sabotage every opportunity that challenges that belief. Because to accept love, success, peace, it would mean confronting the lie you've lived by. It would mean letting go of the identity you built around your wounds. And that's terrifying. And so, unconsciously, you return to the known, to the pain, to the familiar hell. Because to the psyche, the known hell is safer than the unknown heaven. The work begins here. So, what now? If patterns are messengers, what are they trying to say? If your sabotage is a symbol, what does it point to? This is the invitation Jung offers, to stop running from the shadow and start listening to it. Because only when you turn inward into the cave you fear to enter will, you find the parts of yourself that still hold the keys to your freedom. The pattern begins to dissolve the moment you notice it. Not judge it, not fix it, just see it. Most people repeat their mistakes because they're not conscious of the forces driving them. They say, "I don't know why I keep doing this," and truly they don't. Because the pattern lives in shadow. It's a reflex, not a choice. So the first step is not to change your life, it's to witness your life honestly. Start tracking the pattern. What happens right before you sabotage something good? What emotions are present? Panic, guilt, emptiness. What voice do you hear inside? Whose voice is it? When you can slow down the moment and feel it instead of reacting to it, you're no longer inside the loop. You're watching the loop. This shift in awareness is everything, because the ego thrives on repetition, but the self awakens through observation. The shadow speaks in simple. Jung believed the unconscious doesn't use language, it uses symbols. Dreams, fantasies, slips of the tongue, compulsions, emotional reactions, these are all how the psyche tries to communicate with you. If you keep choosing unavailable partners, the point isn't punishment. The point is pattern recognition. Your psyche is trying to say, "Look, this is familiar, this is old, something unresolved is driving you here." That doesn't mean you deserve the pain. It means the pain contains information. The next time you feel the urge to sabotage, to lash out, shut down, ghost someone, binge, overspend, cheat, withdraw, pause. Instead of acting it out, ask, what emotion am I avoiding? What belief is being triggered? What part of me feels threatened by growth? Because paradoxically, sometimes joy is the scariest thing of all. To feel peace after years of chaos can be destabilizing. To be loved when you've never felt lovable can feel wrong. So the sabotage isn't the core issue. It's the symptom of a deeper fear, the fear of expansion, the fear of receiving what you never thought you deserved. The inner dialogue, giving. The shadow, a voice. Most people try to kill the shadow. They shame it, bury it, run from it. But Jung taught that you can't destroy the shadow. You can only integrate it. Integration means listening. It means creating a dialogue with the part of you that sabotages you. You can literally write a conversation. In your journal, ego, why did you push that person away? Shadow, because they were getting too close, and I was afraid they'd see the real me. Ego, what's wrong with the real you? Shadow, she's needy, weak, too much, just like when my dad left. This is the work. It's not about forcing yourself to do better. It's about understanding why you've done what you've done. When the shadow feels heard, it no longer has to scream. Compassion is the medicine. Healing doesn't come through force. It comes through compassionate confrontation, because beneath every self-sabotaging act is a younger version of you, trying to protect you the only way they know how. The perfectionist in you was trying to avoid criticism. The people pleaser was trying to stay safe in a chaotic home. The avoidant was trying not to feel the pain of being abandoned again. You're not broken. You're brilliantly adapted, but adaptations become cages when they outlive their context. The question is no longer, why am I like this? It's, what did this version of me once protect? And is that danger still real? Because once you see that, you no longer need the armor. You can begin to lay it down, not in shame, but in honor. Thank the pattern, and then release it. Owning the desire for wholeness. Jung believed that at the heart of every pattern is a desire for wholeness. That means you're not just sabotaging out of fear. You're sabotaging because there's a missing part of you trying to come home. The mistake isn't the problem. It's the signal. It's the unconscious saying, this is where the split occurred. Come back here. There's something you left behind. And often, what we left behind is power. The power to set boundaries. The power to be seen fully. The power to receive without guilt. The power to choose differently. You don't heal by chasing perfection. You heal by reclaiming the parts of yourself you were taught to hide, and that includes the part of you that once sabotaged. Because now, with awareness, that part can transform. From fate to freedom, Jung once said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. The moment you bring awareness to your patterns, you break the illusion of fate. You're no longer a character being dragged through an old script. You become the author, editing the story as you go. This doesn't mean you'll never slip. It means the slips won't define you, because now you can pause, reflect, choose. You can feel the old urge, resigned, not follow it. You can feel the fair and still say yes. You can feel the doubt and keep going anyway. This is the moment. The loop begins to dissolve, not through willpower, but through consciousness. Integration is the goal, not perfection. You're not here to fix yourself. You're here to reclaim yourself. Every pattern you've lived has carried a lesson. Every mistake has pointed to something unseen. Your task is not to shame the past, it's to harvest it. What did this pattern teach me about my needs? What truth did this mistake reveal about my boundaries? What part of me got louder every time I ignored it? The more you reflect, the more you recover. You begin to realize the sabotage wasn't sabotage, it was communication. The mistake wasn't failure, it was initiation into a deeper, wiser, more whole version of you. The emergence of the true self when the loop dissolves. something unexpected happens. Silence, not the kind filled with anxiety, but a stillness that feels unfamiliar, peaceful. The mind no longer needs to run the same story. The body no longer prepares for betrayal, abandonment, disappointment. You are no longer at war with yourself. This silence is not emptiness. It's space, the space where the authentic self emerges, no longer defined by childhood wounds, no longer dictated by unconscious drives, no longer acting out inherited scripts, just awake, aware, whole. But integration is not a destination. It's a daily practice, and it begins with a radical decision to live consciously, choosing awareness over automation. Most of your life was lived in a trance. Patterns didn't feel like patterns, they felt like reality. You didn't choose them, they happened to you. But now you see them, and when you see them, you can interrupt them. Living consciously means asking, am I responding or reacting? Is this desire coming from my wounds or from my wisdom? Does this choice move me closer to wholeness or back into the loop? It's not about being perfect. It's about being present. Mistakes still happen. Triggers still rise. But now you notice them sooner. You take a breath. You take responsibility. You realign. That's the difference between fate and freedom. Honoring. The cycles of growth healing is not linear. It's cyclical. You'll meet the same themes again: abandonment, control, shame, fear, but at new depths. Like spiraling through a labyrinth, each turn reveals a deeper layer. Don't be discouraged by the reappearance of pain. It doesn't mean you're back at the beginning. It means you're ready for the next level of integration. Each time you respond with more awareness, each time the reaction time shrinks. Each time your recovery is quicker. This is what Jung called individuation, the slow, lifelong unfolding of the self. You don't reach a finish line. You become more you with each cycle, more honest, more embodied, more free, creating new narratives. If the old story was I am broken, the new story becomes I am healing, I am learning, I am reclaiming my life. Carl Jung believed the unconscious wants to become conscious. That's why it sends patterns, why it repeats dreams, why it breaks down your coping mechanisms when it's time to evolve. The psyche is not your enemy. It's your mirror and your map. And now that you're awake, you can rewrite your narrative. You no longer have to earn love by abandoning yourself. You no longer have to prove your worth through overwork. You no longer have to seek chaos because peace feels boring. You are allowed to live a life that is calm, meaningful, and slow. You are allowed to feel safe in your own skin, but you must choose that life every day, especially when the old one calls you back. Relationships as mirrors. One of the most powerful arenas for shadow work is relationships, because nothing exposes your patterns like intimacy, the fear of being seen, the impulse to chase or withdraw, the belief that you'll be left or smothered. But now you recognize the pattern before you act it out. Instead of ghosting someone, you express your fear. Instead of people-pleasing, you set a boundary. Instead of repeating your parents' dynamic, you pause and ask, is this mine or is this inherited? You stop seeking completion in others. You begin to offer wholeness to others from the wholeness within you. This is what it means to be conscious in relationship. Not perfect, not triggered-free, but responsible, aware, brave. Shadow work is a lifelong practice. The shadow never fully disappears. It evolves, matures, softens, but it's always with you. And that's not a flaw, it's a gift. Because your shadow keeps you human. It keeps you honest. It reminds you that your darkness is not something to be exiled, but explored. Integration means you no longer run from your flaws. You hold them. You tend to them. You let them soften. And in doing so, you gain access to your full self, not just the curated, acceptable parts. Your rage becomes clarity. Your fear becomes intuition. Your shame becomes compassion. You stop trying to fix yourself and start trying to know yourself. That is the true transformation. Wholeness over perfection. Our culture worships perfection. Jung's wisdom invites a different aim. Wholeness, perfection, is static, rigid, fragile. Wholeness is alive, messy, resilient. You are a mosaic of contradictions, kind and angry, brave and afraid, wise and still learning. And that's beautiful. You don't heal by becoming flawless. You heal by becoming real. And reality includes mistakes, missteps, and moments of forgetting. But the difference is, you come back faster. You forgive yourself more easily. You ask for help. You take accountability without shame. This is what living beyond the loop looks like. Not the absence of struggle, but the presence of choice. The self as a lighthouse. When you've done this work, you begin to radiate something rare, inner stability. You become a lighthouse in the fog, for yourself and for others. You know your triggers, but you don't let them run the show. You hear the old voices, but you no longer obey them. You feel the fear, but you walk forward anyway. And because you've met your darkness, you no longer fear others. You can hold space for Maecenas' grief, rage without needing to fix or flee. This is how healing ripples outward, not through preaching, but through presence. Your wholeness becomes an invitation. Your freedom becomes permission. Closing, you are not doomed to repeat her. Why do we repeat the same mistakes? Because they are not mistakes. They are messages from the unconscious, from the shadow, from the younger self still waiting to be heard. You are not broken. You are patterned, and once you become conscious of those patterns, they begin to unravel, not overnight, but moment by moment, with every honest pause, with every act of self-compassion, with every decision made in awareness instead of fear. You stop living from your wounds and start living from your wisdom. This is the alchemy of shadow work. This is the liberation Jung spoke of, and it's not found in books or theories. It's found in your body, in your breath, in your willingness to meet yourself fully, again and again.